Hey, what's going on, guys? Today, we're going to be checking back in with the MechatroWeGo Votoms crossover series here. This is Volume 2. We have taken a look at Volume 1 before. If you missed that video, go back and check that out. But Volume 2 here, once again, features some really cool box art there on the front. And our included kits are going to be the Brutishdog and the Didilium Capsule. So really cool how like one of the MechatroWeGo kits here is basically meant to be like just like the capsule, not necessarily like a mecha, which is pretty cool. And it's got like the little, what is it, Mechatro mate inside there too, which is really cool. So a very cool set. And again, like I said, if you guys are Votoms fans, I mean, it's a great time to be into Votoms because we're just getting so much cool stuff. And I love these crossover kits like this here as well. So this one looks really cool. Let's go ahead and get into it for today's video. But alright, before we crack open the box and get to the actual kits inside, definitely worth taking a moment to just admire the beautiful box art that we have on here, almost as good as the kits themselves. Super cool, just painting style here for the illustration of the Brutishdog and the capsule there, complete with all the really nice lighting, shading, and markings on there as well, which we will have some nice waterside decals, I believe, included here that we can use. So that is really awesome. Here on the ends of the box, in typical MechatroWeGo like box art fashion, we've got illustrations here, and then like the background sort of color scheme and language is also switched. We have Japanese here. You can see this is limited edition. And switching it around to the other side, we've got the white background in English here, letting us know this is the Brutishdog and the Didilium Capsule there. So that's always convenient. And if you go over here on this side of the box, it's letting us know that there's easy assembly. Everything on here is in Japanese and in English too, which is really cool. Here you can see what the kits are going to look like, all built and painted and decaled up, with the Brutishdog looking really awesome there. And I just love how unique the capsule kit is, just with that being how that looks. And so that looks really cool with the Mechatro mate inside, 24mm size kit. I have done a separate video on the Mechatro mate kit if you're interested. If you're like looking at that thinking like that you've never seen that before and you have no idea what that is, it's a separate kit set that you can get, but it's cool to have one included here with this set. So here you can see about the built model kit length, width, and the number of parts, with them being 83 parts and 67 parts respectively. They're actually kind of swapped there. 83 parts, more parts for the Brutishdog kit, and less 67 for the other one. But going around here on the other side is just showing a bit about some of the other MechatroWeGo series kits that are available. There's the Mechatro mate kit right there, including the Chubu kit as well, another really cool one there. All design works by Motorism here. I definitely recommend following him on Twitter. It's a really cool account to follow. So let's get into the box and our contents here. So the kits themselves, I mean, are overall going to be very familiar. We've taken a look at the 1/35th scale Mechatro kits a number of times. This is basically just going to be variations of those kits, mostly color variations, obviously with a good amount of new parts there, I think probably for the Brutishdog kit. But once again, for our instructions here, this is the kind of thing that would be perfect to actually just put in a frame, because you got like the full artwork with very little else other than that. You have a little bit of titling here at the bottom, but that's it, just a really nice print of that artwork. Super cool. Here on the back side, you've got the parts list here, and you can also see which parts are going to not be used. The ones that are like highlighted with blue there, those are going to be leftover parts that are not going to end up being used for this set. On the inside, we've got all of our construction here in black and white. I love how it always at the end of the constructions, it always tells you congratulations once you've finished the build. That's always just kind of a nice, kind of cute little thing that they include here. And here you can also see some more sample photos. This is going to act as our color guide and decal guide, I believe. So the color guide's down here, and this is letting you know where the decals go on the kits. So nice reference images there of the kits. And yeah, our waterside decal sheet here is going to give you a lot of different marking options there, ones that are going to be mostly going around for the Brutishdog, but a lot of really nice markings. One other interesting thing to know, I believe this was the case with the Volume 1 set as well, that it's basically like bagged as like, this is all the parts for the Didilium capsule, and this is all the parts for the Brutishdog. So it's just kind of interesting how the runners are packaged like that. Basically, it's the one package for a full set there. It's kind of cool. So if we take a look at the runners just from the original MechatroWeGo kit here first, you do have a couple of polycaps there in black, and the runners B and D are going to be molded here in that kind of like a darker pink kind of color there. And you can see we do also have the pilot figure included. So it's nice that they included that instead of having that just omitted from the runner there, so you still have the little standing pilot figure. And then in this kind of like desert pink, sort of light beige kind of color here for our secondary color of the kit. And then runners VA and VG. I believe the V stands for Votoms here for these, some of those parts that are specific for the Votoms variations. We got some more parts here in that darker pink. Runners VD and VH are here in this kind of blue-gray color there. Runner VB and VJ are some parts here in this maroonish color, darker maroon color. And lastly, runner VC is some more parts here in that light kind of almost like flesh tone kind of color here, beige kind of color. As for the Didilium capsule set, this one actually has the polycaps here in gray. So the polycaps are actually shared between both sets. So even though I said they're kind of like packaged separately, this runner you will have to share between both. And for this set, runners A and C are molded in this kind of slightly grayish blue kind of color here. It's really nice color. And runner B is in this darker navy kind of color there. This does include the boy standing figure there as well in 1/35 scale. We've got our clear parts here on runner D. This is another shared runner that you will have to use these clear parts for both kits there. And then for this set specifically, we've got runner V here, which is just basically another set of like the typical parts for the main body, but instead in this case, they're in this really nice clear blue, which looks really cool. And then we've got our Mechatro mate here on runner VK, which is again in that kind of like flesh tone kind of color. Very interesting that this is not the full Mechatro mate kit. I don't know, which makes sense. For some reason, I was thinking it was going to be the full Mechatro mate kit, but I guess realistically, although that kit is pretty small, it's not small enough to actually be able to fit into a 1/35 scale MechatroWeGo kit. So we actually have a separate, a new Mechatro mate kit, which is even smaller here, which is going to be able to fit inside our main Mechatro kit. So pretty cool. All right, very interesting. Let's get these built up and see how they look. Yeah, all right, guys, here are the kits all built up. Our Brutishdog and Didilium Capsule 1/35 scale Mechatro kits here. As you can see, they're pretty small. There's little guys here, but super cool designs. Love the variations to the Mechatro design to make them sort of match the Didilium Capsule there and the Brutishdog. So really, really nice and fun to build. I always enjoy building these Mechatro kits just because they're so interesting and unique in their design. They're relatively simple kits and go together pretty quickly, so they don't take a whole lot of time to put together, but they're really nice. They have a lot of really great detail on there, and then the new parts that we have to make these particular versions are also really nice and keep really well with the kind of overall style. So definitely a really cool set here for Volume 2. We don't really have a whole lot in the way of accessories necessarily, but let's go ahead and get into it here. We'll take a closer look at what we've got in the box. And so yeah, not necessarily any accessories that we have here for this, but just to talk about a few of the extra things that you do have. We do have these clear parts here. These just being stands for the character models, which once again, just a reminder that you do have the models for the 1/35 scale characters. You get a one boy and one girl with each set, so that means we have two of each of those. Those are just going to be the same ones that are carried over from the original 1/35 scale Mechatro kits, so it's just the little clear stands for the character, for the girl characters anyway, as the boy character model is kind of meant to go on the inside of these. But anyway, and then you do also have these little clear parts here, which are for the eyes. So I've not yet installed those just because it's kind of the thing that you want to do, you know, once the kit's actually painted and everything like that, or if you're planning on painting. Otherwise, you can just pop those in there. The eyes will look better. But I did want to mention to you guys that you do not have clear parts here for the camera lenses for the Brutishdog, and that's unfortunate because it really would have been nice to have a couple of clear parts for the clear lenses in there. So you're just going to have to paint those. Otherwise, you can get different clear lens sets like these here from Wave. I'm not sure if Kotobukiya makes anything like this, but I've got a few of these Wave sets and they're available in different sizes, different colors. I think just regular clear. It's like a clear orangish kind of color, and there's also clear green, I believe. So check those out if you guys are just looking for some clear lens parts. You could probably find some that would fit a kit like this, or you know, whatever else you might be working on. And so without any other real accessories to go over, just to talk a little bit more about the Brutishdog here first. So we have kind of our basic articulation. The knees don't move on these kits, but it's really easy to modify the joint there, and I've done that in a past review you guys can check out if you're interested. But basically it's just a matter of just like cutting a little tab there on the knee joint to be able to bend the knee, and it's a really simple modification to do. You will have some seam lines on some of these parts, mold lines on these like larger round parts there. It's just a mold line there with some nice details up underneath the feet there, with the kind of wheel detail there on the background. So you have these new feet. There is a seam line on the middle of that front, like lighter colored part there, unfortunately. The other thing I would recommend doing would be just to drill out the holes for the actual gun barrels there, just to make that look a little bit better. But the claw part is working here. You can move that up and down a little bit just to kind of open up that claw bit. These little hanging hook parts here on the shoulders are also able to move. And of course, the head can open up like that, or just kind of like the mouth sort of part. You can open up the entirety of the structure. You have everything on the inside that you would for just like the normal kit. And like I said, usually the boy character model is what goes on the inside of there. Then over here on this side, we just have new parts for the arm and the hand there. This doesn't have a working like kind of like arm extending like punching action there. We also don't have any other options for the hands. Would have been cool to have an additional hand part that's like an open hand. I think really would have been nice. But again, some nice details all around. Basically, they're just keeping it pretty simple with these. You have clear parts here for the kind of like tail lights, as it were, and then new backpack part up here that does have a little kind of ammunition cartridge right there, similar to the one that fits into the side of the arm here. Actually, it's the exact same part, and that is removable. Just this cute little ammo cartridge right there. But pretty simple, with the new parts really going a long way to convey the look of the Brutish dog here as it's applied to the MechatroWeGo kit. Now, as for our Didilium Capsule kit, there's less new with this one, as most of the body is pretty much all just the regular 1/35 scale Mechatro kit. It's just that we have these nice clear blue parts for the outer shell. There's nothing different about the mold of those. It's just that they're molded in clear blue. So I think this is the first time that they've been in clear blue. There has been different kit releases that we've gotten clear versions of these parts, but I don't think there's been any version in clear blue before. But that said, the parts on the inside here for the Mechatro mate, as we saw in the unboxing portion of the video, it's new parts for the mate, and there's also a new part that actually connects the mate into the kind of inner structure in there. There's not really much that you can do with that. I mean, pretty much just stuck in place there like that. Some painting, or at the very least some panel lining on that, would probably look pretty nice just to kind of help bring out some of the details, but it looks pretty cool once you have this closed up and you can see the little Mechatro mate inside there. It definitely looks pretty awesome. Would have also maybe been nice if the clear plastic was more UV reactive, just to give it a test here with a UV flashlight. You can see it's not necessarily really glowing or anything like that. Maybe doing some panel lining on this with some like UV reactive paint would be pretty cool. That would make for a pretty awesome effect on that, to paneling this with some UV reactive paint and then like have it with a UV light. It would just with like the lines glowing, I think would look pretty awesome. And just as a reminder, in case you guys have not seen any past reviews on this series of model kits, just to give you a sense of how big they are, it looks like it's coming up to about 7 centimeters in total height, or compared to your standard HG size Gundam model kit, as you can see, it's basically coming up to about sort of waist height of your standard HG Gundam, with the Brutish dog being like looking slightly taller just because it does have like larger feet on there. I think those feet parts are gonna give it a little bit more head height, and then you also have the little antenna bits sticking up at the top there. That might be a nice modification to make too, just clipping those off and replacing those with actual like little brass rods would be nice too. But that's really about it for the set here. We'll try out a few different poses, but like I said, with the articulation being pretty limited on these, they're not necessarily going to be the most posable kits. As I said, there's a very simple modification that you can do to get a bit more articulation in the knees in particular on these. And if you do find these to be a bit too small for your liking, there is the 120 scale versions of the MechatroWeGo kits that are also really nice, but there aren't any Votoms versions in 120 scale. So if you really want to like the Votoms variety of MechatroWeGo series, they're only available in 1/35 scale. But if you just wanted a nice larger Mechatro kit to work on, I would definitely recommend checking out the 120 scale kits. So always glad to see the Mechatro line continuing on. And if you guys still have not yet built any of the Mechatro kits, I would definitely recommend picking up one, whether it be like one of these Votom sets or just any of the other versions that are available. There's a whole bunch in all sorts of different colors, and there's different varieties too. So definitely check them out if you guys are looking for something a little bit different to build. You might find them to be a bit expensive for what they are, and it's understandable, but just remember that these are not Bandai model kits, so you're paying kind of the extra amount just because it's more of like an independent producer. I know Hasegawa is not at all like an independent producer, but they're not pumping out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kits like Bandai does. These are kind of a bit more limited in their release, and also designed by like an independent artist. So there's reasons for the cost, and if you guys think that it might be worth checking some of these out, I definitely would recommend it. And if you do want to check out some more of these kits, or any more Votoms model kits, or any other kind of mecha model kits, you can check out the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. As always, guys, thank you so much for all of your support. Whether that be leaving a like on the video if you enjoyed taking a look at this awesome set of model kits here today, or just making sure that you're subscribed. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you all so much. Until next time, I hope y'all are having a great day. See y'all later. Bye, guys.